Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast. I'm Billy Embody. With me is Hayden Howerton. We break down SMU's 28-10 win over Missouri State on Saturday. That includes the film room from Hayden Howerton, of course, and we go coast to coast on this edition of the On the Pony Express podcast, which starts right now.
When you clock in every day, there's always that chance that something can happen. You don't know when, where, or how, but accidents are inevitable. As a business owner, you don't want to be left holding the bag whether something happens to an employee or customer. General liability insurance covers everything from a slip or fall all the way down to a paper cut. At Northwest Insurance Agency, we will get you any necessary coverage that pertains to your field. So get covered under the sombrero by calling 855-88-75656 or visit us at nwagencies.com.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
That is right. It is Wednesday as you guys are listening to this, and Hayden Howerton and myself are ready to break down this SMU Missouri State game, which had SMU fans on edge, to say the least, at ontheponyexpress.com on the message board. And Hayden, before we get into that, we're, of course, presented by our friend Mark Villasana, Northwest Insurance Agency, 214-352-5656. Info at nwagencies.com is where you can get in touch with him to get on his schedule, discuss your current rates, coverage, and more. And like you heard in the commercial, get under that sombrero of coverage. And Hayden, SMU did not cover in the game. They did not get to that. They not only didn't cover, they made it very, very difficult on themselves in the early goings, but ultimately pulled away with 28 unanswered points in this one. Let's dive in. This is a game that was really, really I was really hopeful that as a reporter covering this game, we would be just over and out really quickly and just kind of able to enjoy a little Saturday. But nope, SMU had to make it interesting all the way to the second half.
Definitely a football game that going forward, we're going to talk about it. I'd like to forget about it immediately after this podcast. So Missouri State, knew it was going to be kind of a hard game to go to. I actually had the Bears covering the spread on my prediction last week because it is really hard to play at a game like that one. I mean, shout out to Missouri State. They filled their stadium pretty well, but at the end of the day, this team is just used to big crowds, kind of hostile environments, and Missouri State, they were pretty nice, except for the one clip of where they got the pylon cam and guys had a FSMU in the stands. But other than that, it was a pretty cool environment for Missouri State. They all gave away shirts for their inaugural FBS game. But SMU just didn't come out and play hard, frankly. I think they thought they would get off the bus and Missouri State would just kind of roll over. But that's not what happened. They got punched in the mouth, and it was really one of the early times where SMU has had to play from behind and try to come back into the game. I mean, even the Baylor game, the only time they had trailed in that game was at the end of double overtime. So it was a good opportunity for SMU to feel what it's like to play from behind, have to throw the ball a little bit more. They still did a good job of running the ball, but it's just different. I don't care if it's Missouri State. I don't care if it's Baylor, TCU, Clemson. It's not comfortable, to give up a 10-point lead essentially immediately. And it looked like Missouri State was going to be leading going into halftime for a long time. I mean, Billy, that was the worst first quarter I've seen in the Rhett Lashley era. And I know you said that on your post-game pod, but you try to think back to another SMU game that has felt that way. I think you got to go all the way back to 2018 North Texas, which is definitely a game that I never want to talk about again. But it was just disappointing. I thought SMU would have a little more maturity, be able to get off the bus, take care of business, but unfortunately, they made it interesting, and shout out to Missouri State because they're probably feeling pretty good right about now.
That 2018 SMU North Texas game, I will say, you get excited for covering a new era, whatever. And there was a picture that I kind of snapped, just kind of I fake, was on my phone or whatever. But it was sunny on the steps of the North Texas little tunnel steps. And he was just really dejected looking, playing on his phone, just looking up whatever, and we were waiting on somebody for the media, and you could just tell it was just like, guys, like we're off to a brutal start here.
Horrible. But yeah, so I also wanted to talk a little bit about the uniforms. This is going to be definitely a boomer take, but I did not like the blue helmets. I mean, look, I get it for recruiting. You're trying to do something different, but SMU is becoming a nationally recognized brand. Let's not make it any harder for people to recognize who's on the field. The blue helmets, frankly, I think they just kind of make us look like a team without an identity. So I think from an alternate uniform standpoint, the Dallas uniforms are so great. Like they are one of the top alternates in the country. I'm even okay with the black and blue Dallas, with the midnight. Like I think those are pretty sweet.
Those
too.
are clean.
Yeah.
I mean, those are clean.
Yeah. The only alternate I would fight to take back, and I think they've already done it in a sense, is the Skyline pony. I think they've replaced it with the Triple D, but I really enjoyed the Skyline pony from Chad Morris's era.
Yeah, the anthracite, the great picture of B West scoring a touchdown with the fireworks behind him. That was pretty solid in those. But the blue helmet, I just don't see it. I'm looking at it right now. I'm not a huge fan. Like I don't have a problem with it, but I'm like, I don't know. I think SMU's got, between the red jerseys always kind of causing like a little bit of a letdown, even though they did win this year, to the blue helmets certainly causing some issues up north in Springfield. Just like the Dallas jerseys, let's just stick with those. And because by the time you add it up, I mean, there's 12 regular season games. Wear the blue helmets. You wear Dallas a couple times. You go red. I mean,
different face masks. You get a red and a blue face mask.
Yeah, there's only a couple times like classics come out. So I love. You want to know the uniform that I love is the Stormtrooper one. That's a pretty good look. I know it was the Penn State one, but it's been worn a couple times. But the all white, I mean, it's just really, really solid. So anyway,
not to make this a uniform pod. This is not an Oregon Ducks podcast.
Yeah, some people have just completely just shut us off already. But some people are probably not even listening to this podcast out of just like, I don't want to ruin my Wednesday. Like hump day is hard enough.
But another thing I took from this game, man, and this is going to be talked about a million times, is the dumb penalties that we just committed. 12 penalties, 130 yards. I mean, Rhett Lashley cares. He said in his presser, it's not that they're not getting addressed. I mean, he was heated on the sideline about a couple, and those were understandable, and I would have been pissed too. I think the officials missed some. Wakobia's DPI for the interception that was called back. I think that was Bush League, but either way, at the end of the day, SMU is consistently one of the most penalized team in college football. And it's not just this year. It's been every year. So there's got to be some kind of repercussions for penalties. That's, Sunday gassers, up downs, whatever. But what I look at when I see all these penalties is just SMU has such a great culture already. Don't let the transfer culture or the NIL culture kind of erode away what has already been set in place. So, Billy, what are your thoughts about the penalties, man?
So I did ask Rhett today, and actually I thought he had an outstanding answer to it. I really did. And maybe I'll clip it and just put it in. It's a little long-winded, so I don't necessarily want to do that, but I would just encourage people to just go to our YouTube channel, watch the press conference. But he really talked about it from the standpoint of when Savion Byrd is blocking somebody and his hands aren't low enough and they're higher than they should be, and they slide up and they get under a face mask. Like, that's how you get a penalty because you aren't fundamentally disciplined. Yeah. Like, Savion's gotten a couple penalties this year, that have really set SMU back. And man, I totally believe this about this offense so far this year in particular. If doesn't matter at all, right? It's all happened. So like, don't get me wrong. It's happening. So it's there. But man, if they don't have some of these holding penalties, I mean, they are probably looked at completely 180 for some people. You look at like the one drive against Baylor that they happened twice against East Texas A&M, where Savion Byrd had penalties that they were kind of like moving, and all of a sudden it's a hold. It's 1st and 20 or 2nd and 20, And then it's like, and not to like rip on Savion, but these are just the examples I remember. But those are like back-breaking drive, like especially when you're trying to find your identity a little bit still. Like SMU had lost Jordan Hudson. They hadn't leaned on TJ Harden at that point just yet. Those are some of those things that they can't afford to have those. And so I think that this team has committed some penalties that are so hurtful in certain situations, like extending drives for Missouri State on Saturday. Those are things that have happened that change the way you view the actual performance of the side of the ball that you're looking at. You know what I mean? Like those are taking opportunities away to score when you do that. And when you don't do that, SMU's offense has been pretty good this year. They've been able to score points and move the ball. Now, you throw over the middle on 3rd and long and, it pops up in the air and you get an interception. Romello, like that fumble was so egregious. Like, he's picking up big yards. Kevin at that point, Kevin finished the first half with 230 something yards passing. Like he was on his way to having a day. Those are some of the things that happen that take things that were going positively off the board. So I think that it's a product right now of this team not being as fundamentally sound as they can be. I think Romello is Romello, and so you're always going to have to manage that. And I don't mean that negatively, but dude's just committing penalties that are major left and right. But I don't know. It's like it's a hard. I get it. You're going to do up downs. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. I don't know. I don't understand some of the penalties. Like
on the flip side, some of this is they're just playing hard. Not to make excuses.
Like the crackback. Like I have no problem with the crackback. Like light him up.
Yeah, he knocked
Romelo's engaged. Romelo's engaged in the play. Like he's trying to make a play.
Yeah,
you can't do it, but
the rule now is on those crackbacks, you got to stick your arms straight out. You got to run into them. Arms fully,
or you just like
or high screen.
Yeah, like you get trucked, which is stupid because you get hurt doing that too.
Yeah, so they're having to find unique ways to take the physicality out of football. Yeah. I'm okay with the crackback block, but it's the back-to-back unsportsmanlike. That's why he didn't make the start. Which good on Coach Lashley for doing that. That would have pissed me off. So good on him. That's a good consequence. But I don't know. We pair that and just with the really slow start. You have 2 turnovers on the first 2 drives. We talk about just the egregious fumble and the pick.
That fumble was bad. The picks on 3rd and 10, I'm kind of like, all right, whatever, trying to make a play. Odds of, you still can't do it, but
we ran 4 straight pass plays, which I thought was pretty interesting.
I said that on the board. I was like, I don't understand going up there. You're going on the road first and foremost. Run the ball.
Yeah,
just run the ball.
I think those 10 points allowed on the first 2 drives kind of tie back into your point. I want to say there was a defensive penalty that extended that touchdown drive.
Yeah, I can go and find it.
Sure. So either way, take that away. And we give up 3 points. And we're probably talking about this game way differently. But either way, man, we're averaging 8.3 penalties a game, almost 90 yards.
Yeah, that was it was second and 3, loss of 1. Cam Robertson was offsides, results in a first down. Next play, no gain, and then a 9-yard touchdown. So you're turning it into 3rd and 4 in the red zone. So you're probably getting points at least. Yeah. But you had I don't see a penalty off of it, but they took over in good. Let's see. They had the big game to start, and then they basically just worked right down the field. But that penalty, you're not getting off the field, but you're in 3rd and 4.
You're in a
rather than a first down.
Yeah, first and goal or whatever.
Yeah. So,
but I also talked about the new turf last week. I said it was going to be something to watch. First game on turf for SMU. I did not know that it was the first game on that turf. And that was an ice rink. I said on the board there might be a conspiracy theory that They didn't put enough pellets in it on purpose to try to take us away SMU's agility. I don't
They
really
don't actually have pellets in it at all.
Yeah, that's what it looked like for sure. I mean, SMU's new playing surface is amazing. Even the one they had before this, it wasn't bad by any means. You know, it was pretty soft. You know, you could cut pretty well. But I mean, watching the film, our running backs are one cut backs, and they're trying to make some things happen in the backfield. And I mean, they just can't do anything other than go straight ahead. So that definitely took something away from us. But I do want to give Missouri State credit because they had the body control on that turf. It definitely played to their advantage. You know, you play on the same surface, same weather, same, you know, crowd noise, all that. But ultimately, I think at the end of the day, with this game, we read a little bit too much of our press clippings over the last, you know, call it year and a half. We're back. We went to the playoff. You know, we're just going to get off the bus. This is going to be easy. We're going to go straight to TCU. And it just wasn't like that. Dabo Swinney talked about the, quote, "we suck" poison, which I don't know if we're at that point yet. I mean, SMU is 2-1 with a loss to a really good Baylor team.
I can't wait. Okay, this is going to sound really bad or whatever.
No, come on.
Let's say it. Let's say SMU loses on Saturday to TCU. The Rhett Lashley. What did Dabo say? If y'all are tired of winning, just send me packing or whatever. I'm like, what? Like Dabo was in his bag. We got to talk about that at Coast to Coast, of course. But he was like, pretty sure we've been to Charlotte 8 out of the last 10 times, and he is right or whatever. But man, like, if you're tired of winning, send me packing. I was like, this is incredible. Dabo would be the next Alabama head coach in like a nanosecond.
That would be really awesome. But that was an elite crash out. I mean,
Yeah.
well deserved. But
yeah.
But, you know, I think if the next two games don't go our way, I think if TCU doesn't go our way, and then we have another poor showing in the ACC opener, I think
especially after a bye. I
think at that point, guys in the stands, guys on the team, it will start to go downhill very quickly. But it's really easy to come into the building and practice hard when you're winning, but it takes a lot of discipline to work your tail off without being able to see those results of the 70-0, 66-42. I think this team will wake up with it being TCU because SMU is the biggest offender when it comes to playing up and down to the level of your competition.
Yeah. I mean, it's something that last year was very good. Like, don't get me wrong, but there are always over the last like decade plus since SMU's been like kind of back-ish, you know, where there's expectations to come out and have good games that I've used the term before, but play with your food. You know what I mean? Like that, even that Virginia game that we went to last year, that was kind of like, yeah, even though they won, I think the final score was like, let's see, it was a large spread, but it didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
33-7. Yeah. That's how bad Virginia was offensively last year.
Yeah. They were really bad. They got Chandler Morris now.
Yep.
So we'll see. But yeah, 2019 Navy is the one that comes to mind for that one. Yeah. You lose to Memphis. You basically have to win out, and then I think 2 weeks later, we go to Navy on Navy's senior day, and they beat our ass. But anyway, but yeah, I think this team will bounce back, and hopefully be flying high.
Before we get into even more breakdown, we do want to remind you guys about our friends at Status Jet. David Henry and his team getting geared up for those trips to Clemson, those trips to Wake Forest. I told you guys I just was planning out some travel for that Wake Forest game for old Dean Rolski, and I really wish we could just do Status Jet because it seems like a lot easier and a sweet way to get there and get on the ground there in Winston-Salem. But alas, you guys will have to dial up Status Jet and reach out to David Henry and his team and take advantage of that discount on your round trip flight when you mention us on the Pony Express, mention Billy Embody, Hayden Howerton, Dean Rolski, whoever, that, hey, should be getting a discount on this round trip flight. And the great thing about Status Jet, there's no long-term commitment or big line of credit you've got to put down. So go to statusjet.com today, reach out to David Henry and his team for more information. And Hayden, I do want to take this time as well to shout out our friends at the Thomas Auto Group, thomasautogroup.com. Browse their selection of used and new vehicles and mention on the Pony Express and get employee pricing on new and pre-owned vehicles. And of course, do want to remind you about their service and collision departments as well. They do a great job there taking care of all of your needs for your vehicles. I've got Michelle's car. Somebody backed into her at the gym or wherever, and we got to get a quote. We went to Thomas Auto Group. They took care of it right away. So we're getting that fixed up here soon, and we'll be on our way again. So appreciate all they do. They're literally the one-stop shop for all your vehicle needs, Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen, and Mitsubishi dealerships up in McKinney. So we roll on.
Speaking of Winston-Salem, did you see the food truck fire during the game?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it, but they didn't like. It's funny, like they showed they brought it up like on camera, and you're like, what's going on? Like, who's burning something? And then all of a sudden you see it, and there's the ESPN camera just like covering this food truck on fire. Like, no one was in there like, oh gosh, like they were just ready for that thing to just shoot off fireworks or something.
That'll be an intimate game. I actually am kind of disappointed I can't make that one. My 2015 Katy High School state champions. We're going into the Hall of Honor that weekend, so I will not be in Winston-Salem. So
get you one of these. Get you one of these.
Yeah. Yep. I'll pull mine down for that week.
Yeah, love it.
Keys to the game.
Yeah, let's jump in.
Yep. So last week, guys, I had 3 keys to the game. So number 1, I thought this was going to be a game where the only thing you could control was you. It was going to be unknown. It's a new team, new stadium we've never been to. First FBS game from Missouri State. I just don't think we hit the mark. I talked about having no major self-inflicted or unforced errors. Well, you go down 10-0 in the first 8 minutes of the game, and you just didn't hit the mark. The stupid penalties, the turnovers, it was just sloppy to start. So no for goal number 1. But goal number 2, no more red zone turnovers. We came away with 28 points and 5 trips to the red zone. I mean, the only time we didn't get points was we had a missed field goal, which sucks for Sam Keltner, but I know he's beating himself up over it. But at the end of the day, we had a red zone turnover in each of the last 3 ball games that SMU has played in. So it's good to get that weight lifted off of our shoulders. And then finally, get after quarterback Jacob Clark. So I thought we hammered him. 8 sacks, 6 hits on top of that, 10 hurries. And he was 23 for 37, 275, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. So with a 29.3 quarterback rating. First team all-conference last year in Missouri Valley Conference. So great job to our D-line. I think they had a get-back week like I talked about last week. I understand who they were playing against, but I think they have a pretty solid group up front. It's not going to be anything like what we're going to face this week. TCU is going to be much better, but it at least allows our defensive line to kind of build some confidence. They had that feeling of that, just again, that confidence of when it's 3rd and long and you can pin your ears back and you've got your rush already pre-planned, you're preparing for success. So 2 for 3 on the goals this week, better than we've done so far. I know it wasn't always pretty, but overall a pretty good job for this team.
And look, the way they finished, I think, was important too. And I know that's not a keys to the game. Well, I guess it's always a key to the game, right? But those are some of your pillars. You always want to finish. You want to do this, you want to do that. But I get the sense from the first road trip, the first, just kind of like trip where the team got away from Texas, right? And you take your travel squad, you're not, you're full like million guys on the sideline type of thing. You're taking your show on the road. And Missouri State was jacked up. Their first FBS football game, their home football game, their first opportunity to, make a statement really against a Power 4 opponent. And so they were jacked up and ready to go. And I think this team, and Bill and I talked about this, and I kind of like, pulled McGill's ear about it a little bit, but like, you got to create your own energy. And I don't know if obviously SMU is going to beat TCU on Saturday. I'm going to pick them. I just am going to pick them, but we'll get to that on that preview pod. But all of the things over the first 3 games for SMU, those are things that are tangible learning experiences that this team had no idea about this year. Like last year's team, even with some of the new faces that they brought in, you add Jared Harrison-Hunt, you add Jafari, you add Brashard Smith, obviously, and Brashard was, love him to death, but it was a babysitting class for, a year while he was at SMU. And that's okay. Like I'm a big believer that you need a couple of those guys that you absolutely have to babysit on your football team that are so good that can fix so many things for you. And I would say SMU's one last year was Burchard. But you add some key people to that team. And at the end of the day, though, you had a million guys that had gone through what it was like to go chase a championship and get a championship. And so this year's team, where 42 of 85 are new, this was their first real road trip together. This was their first time that, hey, wow, we don't have there's no McGill or there's no either this or that hanging out there to push the pace. There's no Elijah Roberts. There's no Kobe Wilson, Ahmad Walker. There's no B Cross for the first time in a decade. It's one of those things where it was the first time. It just not an excuse, but it is the realness, I think, of this team. Now, can they take these first 3 games of learnings and experiences and, hey, we managed to have no penalties in the second half against East Texas A&M, and we didn't really have the penalty bug against Baylor, save for a unnecessary celebration, whatever. We've did that. We know we could play offense against a good team. We got off the field early against Baylor a couple times. Let's put all that together now that we have 3 games and figure out a way to finish. And I don't know. Like, have you been a part of a team that has had a handful of experiences through games that you really learned so much about that you were able to take and then channel it to that rest of that year as a group?
Absolutely. I think my senior year of high school, we went 1-2, and our one win was a double overtime win. So, and then the rest, we went on like a 10-game win streak before we fell to North Shore, who was like the national champions. But either way, it's just one of those times where each opportunity and each week is where you learn something different about the team. I think so far what SMU has learned is they need more vocal leaders.
Yeah.
You've lost your B. Cross, who was definitely a vocal leader, your Elijah Roberts. I mean, all of these guys who are very outspoken, because you can only have so many leaders by example, because you need somebody to kind of bark and get the troops going. On Saturday, there were a lot of blank stares on the sideline, and nobody was, hey, we're good, the whole shebang to kind of get everybody up and moving around. There was no encouraging your teammates, there's no cheering on the defense. It's just, all right, our series is over, go back to the bench, wait for the next one. It was just unbelievably flat. I mean, you're going to have to create your own energy in the ACC. When you go to Clemson, there are going to be no friendly faces there. You have to do your own thing and make your own routine, or you're going to get swallowed up. When you go on the road and play in a big-time environment, it's going to be too much.
Let's get the grades here for this one. It's one that I think is it's a pretty tough watch.
It's hard. I'm trying to be optimistic here. I actually gave this offense a B- because of the 28 unanswered. The stat sheet looks really good. 281 passing yards, 167 rushing yards, 4.9 yards per carry. But just those 2 turnovers immediately at the beginning of the game. If that was a better team, they'd have boat raced us. I mean, legitimately. Because by the time SMU picked itself up, if it was TCU or if it was, one of these dominant offenses, there'd have been 30 points on the board by the time SMU would have woken up. So the costly penalties, we've hit on it a million times. You did run 75 plays, so that's better than it has been. That's kind of getting closer to that number. Just the execution wasn't that crisp. So are we looking ahead? I wouldn't think so after taking that loss last week, but we just weren't dialed in to start the game. I just didn't see the same level of passion that we saw last week. I mean, maybe there's a little bit of a hangover there, but I saw offensive linemen, and this, Billy, I think my blood pressure was in the 200s watching this on tape.
It's not funny.
I saw offensive linemen, seniors on this team, walking around and watching the freaking game, watching our running backs get tackled. I was absolutely boiling at that point. I mean, I'm sitting here in my office screaming like I was the offensive line coach but I'm not in the room with them. It's a lower level of competition, but at the end of the day, the standard is the freaking standard. Nick Saban screaming at his guys up 50 with 2 minutes to go against the University of Phoenix or whatever BS online school that they would end up playing. When they targeted Kevin, can we get somebody to go knock the shit out of that guy? Let's fight back, man. I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth because of the penalties, but let's take care of our brother there. I mean, that was chicken shit, man. To have the 2 targetings, first of all, that they got picked up, but that everybody just watches it and nobody does anything about it. Have some freaking pride, man, especially in an offensive line room that quite literally prides itself on the BMF mantra that we established under Coach Powell. So if you're going to break it down on BMF, you got to live it, man. You got to freaking live it. So offense was a tough watch. I know I'm giving them a B-. While I'm getting worked up, I'm probably thinking more of a C+ now, but B- at the end of the day for this offense. Defensively, I think it was much better overall. You had 3 turnovers. It should have been 4. The one was called back.
Yeah, that was weak. That was a weak call.
DPI. I mean, I know his arm was around his waist.
Yeah.
He did not change his momentum. He didn't slow him down. He didn't throw him off course. That was bad.
Yeah.
It was scary giving up those 10 quick points. I was in the panic room fully at that time. But they did get settled in, and I think they did a nice job of answering the bell, and they pretty much shut down Missouri State after that. So they held Missouri State to 53 yards rushing, 27 carries, 2 yards per carry. You do that next week, we'll win. But it just looked how we predicted them to look earlier in the season because the defense was so dominant last year. We'd expected with the extreme veteran coaching staff, bringing in all this talent, just what they were going to be able to do. Just passing defense, I think, just needs a little bit more improvement. So I still need to see some of these planned moves, in the one-on-one pass rush scenario versus kind of just bull rushing FCS offensive linemen, long arming them. You're just physically more talented than they are. That won't work next week. And then coverage, it was pretty hit or miss. So you have the 3 interceptions, which looks great, but I think some of our reactions are just a step slow. But Jaden Milner-Jones, he was targeted 4 times, only 1 reception. I was really glad to see that. That was a pretty good showing from him. PFF had him as the number 1 coverage guy in that game. But season low of 10 points allowed. We'll need a great week of practice and not to buy into that meme. But we got a big test next week. So I think this defense is going in the right direction. It's just going to be, can they keep it up? And then special teams, I talked about the missed field goal. Because of that, I'm going to give them a B. They did what they needed to. It looked more precise on all of the different special teams units. We were 4 for 4 on extra points. We kicked it out of the back of the end zone on kickoff cover, which that makes it easy.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. I don't know.
Not to take a necessary shot, but it's been a minute.
But Red Lashley talked about keeping the kicker job open. So we'll have to monitor how that plays out, as we move forward. I don't think a kicker competition has quite the same level of intensity as a quarterback competition as far as changing your team. It's just who can come up, when we need them. I mean, during practice, during games, we will need a game-winning field goal at some point this year. With how this is going, we're going to need some kind of huge kick where we're going to have to rely on somebody to come through. But Wade McSparron, 5 punts, 39-yard average. That did include a 53-yarder, so I was happy to see that for Wade. He's been a surprise for us after we lose Isaac last year. I was concerned about the punter, but Wade's doing a good job. Ymir Knight bounced back, 2 punt returns, 1 for 18 yards, 1 for 24. I think he'll break a touchdown at some point this year. Yeah. And then just the 1 kickoff return from Link Rhodes. He brought it out to the 14. He just needs reps. It's going to build his ability to sense, do I need to take a knee? Can I return this out? He fielded in the end zone and only got out to the 14. So chalk that up to inexperience, but overall a B for the special teams.
I think a couple things. Lamadrick Spencer didn't play. Rhett said he was healthy today. So I don't know what's going on there, but wasn't on my radar like Isaiah Smith was going into that game. I knew Isaiah wasn't going to play for a minute, but so there's that. And Ahmad Moses ends up having to play the nickel. Jaden Milner-Jones is more back in the free safety. So this look, they saw what happened against Baylor and they went out and tried to change it right off the bat. there were a couple times that penalties extended drives, like they had gotten off the field. So we'll see. This is going to be another huge test against TCU, which again we'll talk about in the next pod. But we're seeing them try to address things like Trey Wilson rushing from the interior, new wrinkle. They added different pressures. They're doing more stunts this year. Last year, they definitely played things straight up, just the talent that they had on the defensive line and the guys were producing. And who knows, maybe if SMU's defensive line settles in and they can start playing things more straight up. But anytime you run a stunt, Hayden, that takes an extra split second away to get after the passer. You're trying to generate different pass rush. And they were able to do that against Missouri State. I'll be interested to see how TCU handles it up front. I do think TCU's offensive line appears better than Baylor's, but I also have zero idea about TCU's offensive line and most of the team because they played a North Carolina team that might end up being one of the worst in the FBS and Abilene Christian. And so we'll talk about that on the next pod, but against Missouri State, I think they tried to address some things. It clearly worked, at least, for the most part defensively to do what they did. There were just moments where because of penalties or because of this or because of that, Jacob Clark was able to, find ways to throw the football. I mean, running the ball, they shut him down. They didn't get much going.
Jacob Clark's a good quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, he's like seventh year. I mean, is he older than you? No,
I think legitimately though, I think
he might be.
He's 1 year younger than I am.
Okay, I was about to say because McGill said he was in the same class as him.
Yeah,
so
that's a long time to play college football, man.
Yeah,
Diego,
stay here as long as you can.
Yeah, Diego Pavia. I saw the thing about the 7th year earlier. I think that got shot down. I think it was fake. But
yeah,
should we get to the film room?
Yeah. All right. Yes, let's get to the film room, and of course. Film Room is presented by our friends at Game Time. Game Time, SMU TCU. This is the way to find your football tickets and take the guesswork out of searching for your college football tickets with our friends at Game Time. They do have the lowest price guarantee where Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And when you're looking for these tickets for SMU TCU, first of all, prices have kind of come down, but it's still pricey. And that's why you want to take advantage of their zone deals as well, where you could see those kind of hot zones areas to sit in Amon G. Carter Stadium. But look, fees are included. That is a big thing for Game Time. You want to know your total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. So that's the cool thing about Game Time. And when you take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time, we're all winners here because of it. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Now, Hayden, without any further ado, it's time to get to your latest edition of the Film Room from Missouri State.
I know after a subpar showing, y'all are probably expecting me to go out here and show 50 bad plays. I'm not going to do that because I think we've been negative enough in the media after the game, kind of our breakdown just now. Are there bad plays out there? 100%. Guys are slipping all over the place. But look, in order to keep bringing plays to you guys, I cannot just destroy the players here. Yep. So I'll do it without naming names in some of the breakdowns. So I'm going to bring some positive energy to this film session. And hopefully after a really convincing win next week, I can be a little more critical for some improvement. Not the, ass ripping that I would get, when I was playing, but just a little more critiques, some things that we can do. But I'm bringing just a few plays for you guys tonight. I think it's just 5 plays. 4 offense and then 1 defense. And then without further ado, man, happy to bring this to you guys. Here's the film room. So on Saturday, I think this SMU team, frankly, just showed up to the game a little bit too loose. So this is the first play of the 3rd series here. So after the interception, after the fumble, and we really need something here that's just going to get us back on track. So what I'd like to see us do here is we actually go, it's 3-by-1 formation. So on the 3-by side, we're actually going to run triple curls here. So we'll see the play develop. They all get spread out. They all stop right about the 12-yard line, and they're all coming back. We do a really nice job with the protection here, as this is a man slide protection. Just one of our base day one installs. So we got a slide on the right, man on the left. Everybody's winning their one-on-one battles. Guys are sitting in the windows. Kevin gets to the top of his drop. You see his progressions, and he hits Jalen Cooper over here on the sideline for a nice gain. Get us to a 2nd and short. While I think there are things we can all agree on as far as Kevin's pocket presence, because he does have a tendency to escape the pocket, he is a really talented passer, especially when he's on the move. So here we got 2 receivers to the field. They are in a tight alignment, so they're a lot closer there to the left tackle. On the right side, just a single receiver, and then Adam Moore is playing the F-back here, kind of just behind the tackle. So we're going to send Ymir Knight here on a speed motion. So you see Adam giving him the signal there, just getting everybody on the right page. But on the snap here, this is a kind of sprint out protection. So the O-line is going to block everybody to their left. Just a gap protection just on the move is really all it is. And then we're going to do a little bit of a shotgun bootleg here as Kevin's going to roll out to the right. But something I really like, they're trying to get a couple levels to this scheme here. So you've got Adam Moore down low, if we just need to dump it off real quick to the F-back. And then you've got Ymir Knight up here on a really nice, what ends up being similar to a wheel route up the sideline. Kevin makes a good throw on the run. It's right on the money, and it's for a good first down here. Get the chains moving. When Garen Justice, Casey Woods, and Rhett Lashley sit down each spring, they really have to diagnose what kind of personnel they've got on the offensive line to determine what kind of runs that they're going to put in each year. So the interesting thing about this O-line unit, because of how big we are, I was expecting a lot of gap scheme, inside zone. We are really good at outside wide zone this year. So we're looking at this formation here. This is actually tackle over. So you've got RJ Maryland here lined up next to Logan Parr on the left side. And then you've got Zion Nelson over here really as the tight end outside PJ Williams. So on this wide zone here, we'll talk about the IDs. The center is going to Mike 44 here on top of him. So him and the right guard are going to run a single to 44. The tackle tight end or tackle in this circumstance are going to run a triple, which is a combo between the two of them from the D end up to that linebacker who's stacked right on top of them. And then on the backside, Logan and RJ, the left guard and the tight end or left tackle in this scenario, are really going to lock this because their -1 from 44 is number 6, who's all the way outside there. So there's no point in comboing to him and leaving this backside guy unblocked. So they're just going to lock these guys down. So on the snap here, I think this is really well executed. So right tight end, Zion's doing a great job. Hey, 43 wants to stay outside. That's no problem. Let's extend our left arm and just get him running. PJ does a great job getting up to the linebacker. And on this single, we get split a little bit late. I think Josh could do a better job of getting his head across, really kind of getting his head in the right guard's armpit so that way this doesn't happen. But either way, Chris Johnson Jr., there are no cuts needed on this. He just needs to keep running. He hits that hole with speed, man. This is a really nice run when we're needing it the most. And then look at Addison, man. He must have heard me talking a little bit about game shape, things like that. He's around the ball. He's chasing the running back. He's trying to finish. Good job, Addison. This is a nice play for us. I think it's getting us back on track, and we need to do a lot more of this going forward. So even though this is a run play, I wanted to show this from the wide angle just to show the yards after contact that D'Amico Green can generate. They call him Chunky in the O-line room, which is a little mean, it's a little jab, but for the true freshman coming in, it's all in good fun. There is much worse that gets said in the NFL. But watch this play here. So we're on the 5-yard line going in, maybe the 6. We're going to hand this off, and we really don't have numbers because of how Missouri State is playing this. They've got us schemed up pretty good here. Stone has no option on the right side but to take this blitzer. So we're really going to be short on the backside here. And as I've talked about in previous weeks, inside zone is its best when it can follow the center's hip, and then it really just bends back right behind the guard. And you see that's exactly what happens here. They're really following PJ, but either way, our unblocked guy here is in the hole. That is the backside linebacker, but it does not matter. D'Amico Green runs right through an arm tackle, man, and he is in the end zone, and he's really getting tackled once he's crossing the pylon. But watch Andrew Chambly here on the left side, 74. He climbs up to the linebacker, runs his feet, and dumps him here in the end zone. Man, this was a really nice play for this offensive line. It's something they can hang their hat on as they look forward to hopefully putting on another great rushing performance against TCU this week. So just one defensive clip here tonight, but I wanted to talk about how hard it is on offenses whenever you get down here in the low red zone. So Missouri State is driving the field here. They're on about the 6-yard line, similar to the last play we just saw, and they're going in for a touchdown. So they're having to catch up at this point. SMU is taking the lead. They're trying to come back. But watch the job here that's done by our defensive backs here on the bottom of the screen. I think it is really hard for DBs to pass off games like this, just like it is for offensive linemen passing off games. And they do an excellent job here with this. So, bottom of the screen, this corner here is Jalen Davis Robinson. His guy is going to really break to the inside. He does a great job of passing this off. And this is where disguising the coverage is talked about, because this guy looks wide open, who's running for the corner of the end zone. But Jalen does a nice job disguising this, makes a great play, goes up and high points the ball, and comes down with a great interception. But we're getting a good rush up front as well, which certainly helps as Turbo is pancaking the left tackle here. So Jacob Clark had to get rid of this ball a little quick. But overall, great coverage around the field, and then a great play by Jalen Davis Robinson.
Great stuff as always in the film room, presented by our friends at Game Time, Hayden. And now with kind of, I think it's funny, you and I talked about this before the pod, and we go, this one isn't going to go that long. And here we are, over 40 plus minutes into it. But it was a frustrating game, so I get it too. But we got to pick MVPs, and yours is a really, really good one.
I think this guy deserved it last week, but I don't give out MVPs whenever SMU does not win. 15 carries, 96 yards, and this was on slippery turf where it was really hard to cut. I think he would have probably surpassed the 130 mark just if we were on a regular playing surface. 2 touchdowns on Saturday, 5 in the last 2 games, 253 yards so far this season. I got TJ Harden, man. I think he's really coming along. I think he's playing his best football right now. He's showing why he was such a big get in the transfer portal for us, and frankly, I'm glad he's a part of our team. SMU is better when they have a big-time running back, and he's shown that he deserves his carries. So great job, TJ. Congrats on the MVP, and need a big week coming up.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I kind of want to pick and I don't know, some people will probably be like, oh, you got to be kidding me on this one. But I really do think about the defensive line and kind of how they've caught so much flack. But Jeffrey Emba ends up with 2.5 sacks in this game. He was the second highest rated defensive lineman. Kevontae Spears looks like he's kind of earning more snaps. He only had 17 in the game, but was the highest rated defensive lineman. But Jeffrey Emba played, 19 on, they really rotated a lot. And I think, and this is a kind of a sidebar here, but defensively, they were on the field for 69 snaps, which is nice. It's not 90 plus snaps, but they did a really good job of rotating this game. And I don't know, we're going to find out if that's good. They should have, played more together as a unit or whatever against TCU, or they're going to come into this game having gotten some work up at Missouri State, but didn't kill their legs, and they're going to be fresh against TCU. SMU came out ready to go against Baylor. Got up 10 pretty quickly. Let's see how the legs are going into this TCU game. But I'm going to give it to Jeffrey Emba. I thought he did a great job impacting the game. I thought some of his rushes were really good. Obviously, he had the 15-yard penalty.
That's another playing hard penalty in my. That's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, when you watch it back, it's always easier to watch back on replay, right? I kind of watched it back on replay. I was like, that's roughing the passer. But he didn't murder him. He pushed him, I don't know.
He didn't put his body weight on him.
Yeah, he didn't do anything crazy. I kind of think that when you, I would, if you're SMU, and I'm not trying to go all bounty gate here, but it.
Oh my gosh.
But SMU has not asserted itself on an offense this year. SMU needs some big hits in this game against TCU. I mean, I'm not saying that they're soft or not physical or whatever defensively, because there were some good hits against Baylor, and in particular, some of those get off the field type of plays. Ahmad got Sawyer Robertson right in the ear, pretty good hit there. But they really need to play with a level of physicality this week. And I think the defense kind of laid the groundwork through guys like Jeffrey Emba trying to get that done. So Jeffrey
Emba, great pick. Yeah,
he's my MVP. So
that's a great pick. I was thinking about him for sure. I needed to give TJ his flowers after.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So before we get into coast to coast now, do want to remind you guys about our friends at Mignon. We talked about it on the After Stang show, which was a really somber one. But right off the bat, I told you guys, Mignon is where you can go in Plano on Sundays. And when the Mustangs win, you get a free dessert, whether it be for breakfast or, for brunch or for dinner. So mention on the Pony Express or SMU or Pony Up or Go Mustangs. That's a different story. But mention that, and Mignon will give you a free dessert with your meal when you mention that as well. So we do want to remind you guys, tentatively hold your plans on Sundays and go to Mignon for either brunch, beautiful patio to overlook. It's really going to, hopefully start to cool down here. So it's perfect time to do that. Or you can go for dinner and enjoy a really intimate setting at one of the finest restaurants in the DFW area. So really excited that they're sponsoring the pod with us and providing you guys a great deal to get over there as well and come visit them at Mignon in Plano. So quite the weekend of college football.
I'll tell you what, after the SMU game, I was a little bit worn out. It was more one of those where I'm doing my write-ups. But we'll start on Thursday night, man. Some ACC action. It was the only game on besides the NFL. 2-0 NC State at 2-0 Wake Forest. Who'd have thought? But Wake Forest took the opening kick back to the house, 98 yards untouched. And frankly, I thought they'd run away with this game after NC State had a horrendous 2024 versus what was expected. But the Wolfpack looks improved, man. They look a lot better than they did last year. They scored 20 unanswered. They win 34-24 in Winston-Salem. I don't think NC State is quite ready to play for an ACC championship. I say that, and they'll be our opponent in Charlotte. But they're not going to have as bad of a season they did last year. They'll probably be middle of the pack, but they'll beat North Carolina. So they'll win that rivalry game. But ultimately, they'll probably be a 7-5 team this year, if I had to guess.
Yeah, I see that happening. And look, they're running the football really well too. Yeah, I think that's something that really stood out to me, and a lot of people talking about that one. So
yeah. But it wasn't just us this weekend that was struggling. Number 16, Iowa State. They only beat Arkansas State by 8. The number 7 Texas Longhorns, and as I'm a hater of every Texas school not named SMU, they booed Arch Manning off the field as Arch threw 10 straight incompletions versus UTEP. I'm not sure what's going on with Arch. We saw some of the clips on social media where it looks like he's wincing as he's throwing. That's an excuse. If he's hurting that bad, he needs to get off the field. But Longhorns won 27-10, but I think Arch is on some thin ice. And not in the way of I think he's going to be benched, but there's just so many expectations because of what comes with the last name and everything else. But Lenora Sellers left the game after suffering a concussion as number 11 South Carolina. Gamecocks hosted the Vanderbilt Commodores. Vanderbilt just dominated that game. That was unexpected for me, but Vanderbilt has come to play again for the second straight year in the SEC.
Love what Vandy's doing. They have really, really brought it. And it sometimes pays off to stick with a coach who cares. And, Clark Leah's sharp. He's a really, really good coach and has figured out a little bit of the secret sauce on what Vandy needs to be successful. And it starts at quarterback. Here's the thing. You can pay. Look at Darian Mensah. I'm sorry. Talk about egregiously spending. If you're going to spend that type of money, go get John Mateer. What are you doing? I don't understand. But, and I didn't think he was bad coming from Tulane, but I was like, who? When they signed him and they go on the road and lose to Tulane, which we'll talk about probably, I'm sure. But the Diego Pavia, that is a guy that is worth every single penny that Vandy has, stepped up and raised to keep him.
He's so tough.
He is a program defining and culture setting player. And you can see it. And the team loves it. It's kind of like a Baker Mayfield at OU kind of thing.
Great role. I love that comparison. So you've got Diego Pavia on one side, and then you've got Cade Klubnik on the other. Cade going into the season was probably my Heisman favorite. But 12th ranked Clemson, they wore their purple jerseys in Atlanta. Georgia Tech is dangerous. They're one of those teams that, frankly, I'm glad SMU's not playing. but Clemson looks really weak compared to their years past. Georgia Tech was up 13-0. Clemson roared back. It was tied at 21 with 3 minutes to go. Georgia Tech had no timeouts and ran onto the field for a fire drill field goal with 20 seconds left. And the thing that was the most surprising, Dabo let the clock run all the way down. 20 seconds is an eternity for that. Like when we ran a fire drill field goal, I think we needed 14 seconds. So the kicker really had time to set up, wait. They do their normal progression. Dabo, call timeout. Give yourself some time, 20 seconds or 17 after the field goal to either drive the field for a game tying extra point or they miss and you're going for a game winner, because Georgia Tech sinks it. Huge win for the Yellow Jackets. I don't know the last time they beat Clemson, but I don't know. It's just weird looking at this Clemson team and they did this a little bit last year too, kind of mess around it early in the season, and then they figure out a way to make it to Charlotte. But I just don't know. Dabo, like we talked about earlier in the show, kind of crashed out in his post-game presser or his Tuesday presser, but I don't know. They just don't look like the national championship team or the obvious ACC winner that we predict them to be.
I obviously don't disagree. I mean, they could still end up in Charlotte because that's just kind of what they do, but they look one-dimensional. Like they don't look balanced. I don't know. I think here's the thing. We can go on a tangent. And I've mentioned this on the board. I feel like Kevin Jennings gets, I think, some unnecessary hate. And I know people don't hate him or anything like that, but Cade Klubnik is this Heisman, not dark horse, front runner going into this. Yeah, favorite. Him and Nuss and the Lenore Sellers. All three of them are leading offenses that could not be handheld to the end zone at this point, by the way. Could not do it. Would you trade Cade Klubnik for Kevin Jennings right now?
Not a chance.
Exactly. So, how many quarterbacks out there in the country right now are you? Because I don't think there's very many quarterbacks that are good at all right now. And I think somebody tweeted this, and I don't remember who, and it's probably somebody that I actually don't like their takes normally, so it's really going to hurt when I find it. But they tweeted at somebody and go, where is all of this good quarterback play? Where is the world of going to the line and changing protections and doing this and getting yourself into a different play and whatever? It's because you have to look over to the sideline. It's because you are being handheld all the way to that 15-second mark where the mic goes off in your ear and you can't hear anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is, and I'm not there are really good coaches out there that scheme things up, and there are really good quarterbacks out there who can do it at a very high level mentally and process and do all those things. But we're in a world right now where there are just not many good quarterbacks.
Gruden's quarterback camp is going to murder this year's class.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're talking about is legit. I mean, the 15-second cutoff, that it sounds great, but when you're relying on that and they're telling you your adjustments, because SMU is getting it all the way until the ball is snapped because of the pace that they go at. But for some of these teams that huddle or the clock's running down, some of these quarterbacks are just having a freestyle. So I would not trade Casey Woods for Garrett Riley at this point.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Yeah.
But Garrett Riley has not performed at Clemson. I saw some stats.
Been all over the place.
It's been bad, and he's
in big games. In big games, it's been they've just disappeared. And I don't know what the answer is. Tristan Lee, I remember watching him, coming out for the high school ranks, and now he's one of Clemson's starting offensive linemen. I'm like, is he really that good? But got a bunch of kind of preseason buzz around him, and I don't know what's going on there. I really don't. But you can talk about Kevin's warts, and he's good for a turnover every game, it seems like at this point, which is another conversation. But man, you are Clemson and you're going to Georgia Tech and you put up 21 points. You put up 10 against LSU, and LSU looks like it has a really good defense. Don't get me wrong, but they have not done anything again, like in big games that make me feel good about it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
It's hard to predict, but game of the weekend might have been A&M and Notre Dame.
Absolutely.
In South Bend. So A&M quarterback Marcel Reed threw an 11-yard touchdown pass with 13 seconds left. Aggies hold on, 41-40 win. This was Texas A&M's first ranked road game win since November of 2014.
Crazy.
Notre Dame is 0-2 and still in the top 25. First team since the 1988 season to be 0-2 and in the top 25. I mean, make it make sense at this point.
The only way it makes sense is you're like projecting you're projecting the, like, I'm going to say, okay, Notre Dame's going to be a 10-win team at the end of the regular season. And then they're in the top. But it doesn't make sense right now, which drives me nuts. And like, shout out Josh Pate. He's always championing like how the AP poll sucks, which it does. But like, and I don't think the coaches are much better. Most of them don't do it themselves. But like, who are your top 25 teams right now? Like, that's the thing. Like, if SMU goes and beats TCU, I mean, they're 5 minutes away from being undefeated. They go and beat a team that everybody celebrated for beating Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? Like, they should probably be in the top 25. Baylor, you know, they who knows? They'll get back in, like, or get in. Like, I was shocked they weren't preseason top 25. I don't know. There's just so many like different things about the AP poll that just drive me up a wall.
The AP poll, in my opinion, in week 1 and week 2, there should be no losses in the top 25. I just, you don't know enough about who's good, who's not, you know. So like Clemson, for example, they lose to LSU and they're still a top 10 team, or maybe they're like 11, you know, and then they prove that they're not a top 15 team in the country. So I would have to check if they're still ranked. I want to say they're low, but if not, they're still receiving votes.
Yeah.
So anyway, clock did strike midnight for South Florida. Miami proves they are legit. They are a top 5 team in the country. Hurricanes jumped out 14-0 in the first quarter, and USF just didn't keep up. So Miami ran away with this game. Carson Beck threw for 340, 3 touchdowns. Final score 49-12. And then finally, for our in-depth stuff, LSU wins a defensive battle with the Florida Gators at Tiger Stadium. I mean, DJ Lagway, another Heisman frontrunner, 5 interceptions, including a pick 6. LSU's offense, though, you look at Garrett Nussmeier, I mean, they've underperformed. You have another preseason Heisman favorite on the other side. But he's only thrown 3 touchdowns in the first 3 weeks, but don't ask Brian Kelly about that.
Do that. So I'll try to clip it. But so the reporter that asked it is Michael Cobble of WBRZ. Good friend of, like, whenever SMU and LSU end up playing in a few years or whatever, it's going to be like us and Cobble on a show. It's going to be us and Shea Dixon on a show, Matthew Bruni. Like, we're going to have like 25 podcasts that week. It's going to be like a reunion. But Cobble's the one that asked the question. Cobble is like, he is a really good reporter, and he is not a fanboy like that. Like in the SEC, you kind of, you know, get a lot of TV stations you need to sell ads and things like that. You kind of need to be like, everything's happy, everything's great, you know, it's exciting. LSU beat Florida, but like their offense stinks right now. And so Cobble asked him. Now, the one thing I haven't had time to do is watch the whole press conference and see if it was like BK's opening statement and then first question is, why does the offense suck?
I think it was.
I kind of think it was. I just hadn't watched the whole thing, so I didn't want to say that. But the way he answered it is like, yeah, it'd be like going, like, I know not to ask Rhett like, you know, if I was up there for Missouri State, you know, hey, what, you know, like first question would be like, man, what happened with the 10-0 or what, you know what I mean? Like, it'd be like, what'd you like about your team's fight? You know, kind of like butter them up just a little bit instead of just being like, what's going on with the offense? And then he doubled down and was like, why can't you do anything on third down? And then he was like, why can't you do anything in the run game? And I was like, love it, Cobble.
Yeah. No, he was getting after him.
But BK did, like, I understand I understand where he's coming from, but dude, you can't as a coach tell reporters how they should be perceiving covering your team. Like, that is like he did apologize to it or whatever, but it's like, what are you doing? Yes. The DJ Lagway was not, I think this was kind of some fake buzz around him and A&M late, but like he was not recruited by Texas or Texas A&M. Like that is red flag city. Yeah. Like 5-star, putting up 1 million yards. I don't think Billy Napier has ruined him. Like I don't think it's like I went to go play for Billy Napier and I'm now this bad. And that's a really good LSU defense, by the way. But I think it's a I don't know. That was a red flag going through recruiting where I was like, are we sure? Are we sure this guy's a 5-star?
Billy Napier is not going to be the first coach fired this season.
No, he's not.
Because there's already been 2. UCLA head coach Deshaun Foster went 5-10 with the program, 0-3 start, only in his 3rd game of his 2nd year. He got canned. And then Virginia Tech head coach Brent Pry, 16-24, another 0-3 start. He's out of there too. Little brother, we got to talk about him. They did annihilate Washington State. I am talking about the North Texas Mean Green in the desert of Denton. I don't know if you saw the pregame poster that Washington State put out, but 59-10. So good for UNT. The American does live on. So the American Conference picks up a nice win over the Pac-2. So good job to them.
This week of college football was a lot of fun. I got 5 picks right. It was a bad week. After starting off like red hot in our pick 'em on the Pony Express, just have not figured it out just yet. But I think college football is starting to get really good, I will say.
Yeah.
And this is we're starting to kind of hit some pretty good marks here. By the way, shout out Oregon, or shout out Northwestern for kind of bouncing back a little bit, losing only 34-14. Preston completed over 50% of his passes, still had 2 picks, but not a bad day to kind of go against Oregon after what they did to Oklahoma State.
Does Oregon play Ohio State in the regular season? I know I just put you on the spot there. I would have to look at that. That will be big offense versus big defense. So
doesn't appear that they do.
Okay.
It'd probably be the championship game.
Probably Big Ten championship game. But Either way, love the chaos. Glad college football is really back now.
I don't think there's and we'll end on this, I guess. I don't think there's like a far and away best team in the country.
I don't think so either.
I mean, like you could probably make the case. You can make the case for Miami, probably make the case for Georgia, but I don't think there's a runaway right now at all.
You make the case for LSU because of their defense, but their offense will just have to come a long way.
Dude, man, that offense, it's just not good.
But
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But anyway.
We will have our TCU prep this week. If you guys remember all the shade that was thrown last year, be sure to tune in, man. It'll be a really fun final Iron Skillet preview. Crazy to say.
Yep. We will bring you that tomorrow on Thursday when most of you guys are listening to this. We'll have this one up late Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. So hope you guys enjoy all of the festivities this week. If you're going out to Fort Worth, say hello to us if you see us. And we will, of course, see you for the SMU TCU preview pod on Thursday. But for Hayden Howerton, I'm Billy Embody. This has been another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast, presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. So shout out to them and shout out Hayden Howerton for putting together the pod. And we will catch you guys next time for another edition of the On the Pony Express podcast.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU3 and on Instagram at On3SMU. And keep it locked to OnThePonyExpress.com for more coverage.